Anytime someone rises to the moment and gets other people excited and motivated, then for that small moment in time, they've taken a leadership role.
My guest is a business trainer, facilitator, and coach. He is specialized in leadership and change.
Leadership is very strong for dealing with a more unpredictable world, a less secure world, about giving people reason and security.
With over 20 years of global experience, he brings deep insights from leading companies across industries.
There's a reason to leave where we are now, and there's to make this attractive force of where we're going into the future stronger.
My name is Alexander. I'm part of the People and Culture team at Greiner.
Greiner Talks. We talk transformation. Listen in and get inspired.
Welcome, Tom Venning.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you very much for having me here.
Tom, we are at the Greiner meeting space with a beautiful view over Vienna. How are you? What's the highlight of your day so far?
My highlight of the day, I was riding in the tram up here, and a bunch of school kids from outside of Vienna came on the tram, and they were lovely. They were like, "Oh wow, there's televisions in the tram. There's different colours, the hand grips," and they were so excited to be on this tram, and it was just really heartwarming to sit there quietly and just listen to their enthusiasm.
Vienna is a fantastic place to live. I actually know that you are not born and raised in Vienna. You have quite an international career. Where did that take you? How many countries, how many continents did you live in?
I was born in England, 3 weeks old we left, and I lived in Kenya, Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Scotland and Austria, and then work on all the continents, not physically in South America and not in Antarctica, but everywhere else I've worked, and with nationalities from all over the place. Yeah.
So over more than 25 years, you have educated and supported thousands of managers on leadership and change. But that's only part of the story. Mm-hmm. I know that you have also built a sailing boat, for example.
Yes, this was one of the, it was when I was quite young, I started building it. It took years to build, and now it's a present to myself. It's finished. Quite a journey, lots of sanding and painting and sanding and painting.
And that impressive journey brought you here to the Greiner offices today in Vienna to join our podcast series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, not by boat, by tram, but yes.
Tom, we are talking about leadership today, about purpose-driven leadership. And to me, it seems like everybody's talking about leadership now more than ever, whether it's in business, politics, civil society. Why is it like that? Or is that only my perception?
No, I think that's correct. I think there's a substantial change going on. In the past, there was a lot of focus on management training, and management is very strong for a predictable world where you set up systems to be repetitive, to work consistently. And then they notice there's a gap. We need to get human beings on board on this journey. And that's where leadership comes in. And leadership is very strong for dealing with a more unpredictable world, a less secure world, about giving people reason and security. And so this is why the focus has moved in that direction.
We are living in a complex world, lots of uncertainties around us. So are we talking about leadership because we are also longing for it?
Longing for leadership?
Yes.
I guess so, yeah. I guess, kind of leadership is only as strong as the followship. And I think people are really looking for security in other people, helping them do things, to helping them grow, to feeling safe. And so, yeah, maybe people are looking for leadership to help them hold on to something in these times of insecurity.
So what is it actually? It seems like a buzzword sometimes. It seems like it's used quite often, this term leadership. Is there a definition of it? Do you have a definition of it? What is leadership?
Well, very briefly, I think leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. That's what it is. I think it's also important to say what it isn't. And leadership is not hierarchical. Okay. Very often there's this confusion because you're in a senior management position, you're a leader. And I don't see it that way. Leadership goes right the way through all of society. And it doesn't necessarily come with this hierarchical power. It comes from the strength of getting people enthusiastic, excited, motivated to move in a specific direction.
So even very small actions, even if you're not in a position of power, can be leadership.
Absolutely. I mean, if you, in all areas of society, anytime someone rises to the moment and gets other people excited and motivated and moving in a specific direction, then for that small moment in time, they've taken a leadership role.
Rising to the moment, that's an expression I like quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and we can do a lot more of this, rising to moments, not sitting back and waiting for somebody else to step in.
Tom, leadership sounds inherently positive to me, but is there also something like bad leadership, or is that simply a lack of leadership?
Well, I think you've part of the answer is in your question. It depends how you look at leadership. Is it the act of leading, or is it what comes out of a result of the leadership? You know, I think if we look at bad leadership, it's the lack of leadership. It's when people lean on hierarchical power to force people to do things. On the other side, of course, a critical element of leadership, of the outcome of leadership, is the values. And so, you know, there's plenty of examples throughout human history where leaders have been very effective leaders, but they have done terrible things. And this is where then the whole question of values come into it.
We'll touch upon that in a short while. I'd like to ask one more question on the universality of leadership, because you have lived and worked around the world. Is leadership a universal thing, or is that highly dependent on cultural context?
I think that the core behaviors and the core skills and capabilities are common across the world. Of course, how that is expressed has got a cultural element running across the top of it as well.
You are also giving lectures to our leaders at Greiner. You're supporting them in their daily work. And one of your sentences that stuck in my mind, you said, getting a no is actually a great thing. Why is it a great thing to get a no?
When people say no, they give a position. They say, this is clear, this is my border, this is my boundary, this is important to me. They're actually engaging. If you think about the opposite situation, you're walking through a shop and you've got a really annoying salesperson following you and they're saying, oh, look at this. This is a lovely color. It would suit you. Oh, look at that. Look at this. And you're thinking, oh, go away. But what you actually say to them is like, yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yes. And you escape from the shop. And so very often people say yes because it's the path of least resistance. And so when someone says no, they say, this is important to me. I'm engaging. And from a leadership point of view, this is what you want. This is good.
So that's a clear guidance and it sets clear boundaries.
Exactly.
People often resist to things that they don't understand. That's also something that stuck in mind from one of your lectures. What can leaders learn from that?
Well, I think people resist things because they think the idea is stupid. And people think ideas are stupid for three reasons. One of them is the idea is stupid. And in that case, the person knows something that you don't. So this is fantastic. Yeah, engage, find out what it is, learn from them. And then the other 2 points are very close to each other. And one is that people don't understand the idea or they think they're going to lose something. And in this case, when you look at change, it's always a force between where we are now and this vision of the future. And the difference between these two things is now is real. You can smell it, feel it, touch it, taste it, all of these different things. Whereas the vision in the future, this is imaginary, it's abstract, it's intangible. And so when you're helping people understand change or look at the sense of loss, you're trying to close this gap of creative force where there's a reason to leave where we are now, and there's to make this attractive force of where we're going into the future stronger. So So a lack of understanding normally comes down to people not seeing the future, feeling the future, experiencing the future, so that they can't engage with it. And I think it's the leader's job is to take them on a journey so that they can make them more real and begin understanding the consequences.
However, that is so important as a company moving forward, adapting, changing, I think is more crucial than ever. Greiner, for example, exists since more than 155 years, and it wants to exist another 155 years. So change is inevitable.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It is inevitable. I think the quality of change has changed, and I think this is critical for a company like Greiner, because in the past, you could really have a change project and you would start the project, you would go through the change, you would finish it. Whereas now, change is just constant, it's ongoing, it's part of our absolute day-to-day lives, everything that we're doing. And so I think that really we need to develop an existing set of competencies, but go much deeper into them to actually deal with this ongoing, constant change.
Winning people for your ideas. In my understanding, that's a crucial leadership skill. Do you have any hints, any tips on how to win people for your ideas?
I think we need to come back to very simple competencies here. And I think one of the single most powerful is asking good quality, simple questions so that the person can go into the vision or the reason for change themselves and discover their own arguments for doing it. So it's all about making change personal. And I don't think you can do that by telling people. I think you do that by getting them to think using their brain, and you do that by asking very simple questions. So that's one, tip I would recommend.
That's also closely connected to why are we doing something? At least for me, this is a very important question. Why does the why matter so much?
When we look at this speed of change at the moment and this insecure, unpredictable world that we live in, and we're really seeing a dramatic increase in that. I saw a really interesting statistic recently, and it compared this feeling of insecurity over something like the last 50 years. And we're at the highest point ever of insecurity at the moment as a society. We're actually, according to this particular measurement, almost double the insecurity at the highest point of the corona pandemic. So it's really serious, okay? And when you're in times of insecurity, unpredictability, where we don't have enough knowledge to say, this is exactly what we have to do to solve a problem. We can't go to an expert to say, what should I do? Oh, do this. Oh, thank you very much. It's always a learning journey. And if you're on a learning journey, what are your handholds? What are the points that you hold on to make decisions? And I think there are two things. One of them is why. Why are we doing this? So every step forward on a change journey, you always measure it as like, how much closer am I getting to this why? And then the other one is the values, am I consistently holding on to those values and building the values and making them stronger in every step that I move forward?
A journey with unpredictable outcomes. That also reminds me a bit of your story of your sailing boat. Did you have some unpredictable outcomes there? Any learnings along the way?
Oh, many, many, many. When I first started building, I thought I'd be finished in 2 years. In the meantime, life happened, and 20 years later, I finished the boat. And then suddenly, as a man 20 years older, I was given this present from my much younger self. And I ended up doing this huge journey, sailing down the Danube River. And I don't think I would have done that had I chose to do it now. But I was given this present and I was like, okay, so you got to fulfill the dream. And so unpredictability 20 years later, there I was. And it was fantastic, or still is fantastic. I'm leaving in about 2 weeks' time to complete the journey. And yeah, so yes, unpredictability, being given presents from the past, stepping into things that you never thought you'd really do, dealing with challenges which comes your way where you think, I never expected this would happen, like being swept down a river at enormous speed and the engine is broken and you're thinking, what do I do now? And coming up with solutions immediately.
I love how your personal story relates to the topic of change and the change process. And it brings one question to my mind. How can we go somewhere, or how can you go somewhere without knowing where you actually want to go exactly?
I think that it's this, so the vision, yeah. But the question is how clear can you make a vision? And I think there's a lot of daydreaming comes into this, is dreaming up reality. And then as you go in that direction, it becomes more and more specific and more real. And in the end, you come out with some very tangible solution. I think a good example there is Steve Jobs, and the iPhone. This guy didn't sit down in a meeting and say, okay, we're having a new project and we're going to change the world. And these are the KPIs. He was daydreaming and got people on board about dreaming up this new world. And then slowly through many iterations, they then created this project which has transformed society. So daydreaming, living in the future, very important.
And another skill needed for navigating through such a volatile, uncertain environment, that is resilience. So the ability to adapt and to cope with challenging situations. What does resilience mean to you in the context of our discussion?
Resilience is changing. In the past, people went to this point of security. I know what is going to happen tomorrow, so I feel safe. Whereas now, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, what political tsunami is going to come our way, what disruptive technology is going to move us, what's coming from climate change. And so we need to develop a new style of resilience where we feel safe in this ever-changing world. And I think this is where it comes down to leadership again. So leaders really helping people feel excited about change, feeling empowered in change, so that when they feel that they can contribute, they feel safer in that environment. And so I think we really need to look at the competencies of resilience and begin finding new ways of doing that.
Is there another outstanding competency, maybe besides resilience, that's needed for succeeding in a complex world?
Curiosity. Really go out there, and when you're presented with something new, instead of coming up with a typical Central European answer, which is no, but instead lean into it with a yes and attitude, and then start asking questions and figuring out how to move forward.
So it's these small behavioral changes that can get you quite far.
Exactly. Tiny steps forward create the entire journey.
Tom, what is good leadership for you in a nutshell?
Good leadership is a great deal of respect for other people. There's a lot of observation, watching, experiencing, listening to other people, and then helping them really develop in a given direction so that people can get the most out of themselves. And then as a group, in society, as a community, we can come together to make amazing things happen.
Empowering people.
Empowering people.
Tom, there is so many more questions on my mind that I would love to ask, but we are slowly coming to an end of our conversation. However, before I let you go, I'd love to wrap it up with you and ask you to complete some sentences in your own words.
Greiner Talks. Let's wrap it up. I get inspired by
life and curiosity.
We need to start
spending a lot more time finding ways to feel much more comfortable in an unpredictable, complex world.
Let's talk about
stepping into the unknown, exploring and adventuring.
what I wish for.
A lot more curiosity, which leads to a deeper understanding and acceptance of differences around me.
Your message to the world.
The next time you're in a conversation and you're really excited, you're listening to the other person, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to say this next. I know what story I'm going to tell. I know what counter argument I'm coming up with. Instead of doing that, ask one more really simple question than you normally would. One more simple question.
Thank you so much for coming here and for this conversation, Tom.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a real honor to be here and have the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you everyone for listening. Connect with Tom on LinkedIn, visit his website b2b-training.com, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Visit Greiner.com. Share your thoughts and let us know who you think should be our next guest. Greiner Talks. Subscribe now.